We are live, ready to start the stream. Still playing Great Ace Attorney. I think it's a good a time to start as any. Let's see if I can remember what all my voices were. Because it's been a few days. Alright. 22nd November, 11:38 a.m. Supreme Court of Judicature, Defendants Antechamber 5. Excellent work, Rinosuke. That was superb. Uh, my heart was in my mouth the entire time. It was almost unbelievable. I mean, looking at you in there. You were drenched in sweat, your eyes popping, your knees knocking, and you were grinding your teeth. It was a grim sight, but before I knew it, you started finding inconsistencies in the testimonies. I think you might have a natural talent for being a lawyer. Forget it, it's terrifying. If I get through this, I don't ever want to see the inside of a courtroom again. Anyway, it looks like we've exposed your phantom lady at last. Miss Jezail Brett, a student from Great Britain. Is she? That's what I was trying to tell everyone from the start. Dr. Wilson wasn't alone. There was a young woman with him, like I've been saying all along. Yes, you have, haven't you? I might not be overly confident in the courtroom, but my powers of observation are one thing I am sure of. Yes, I can see that. So, about this young gentlewoman. Thanks to our detective friend, she was hastily escorted away from the scene, it seems. Did you see what happened with that? No, I didn't see any of it. I was just on my way out of the restaurant myself. Then, on the floor next to Dr. Wilson's table, I noticed there was a gun lying on the floor. And just after I bent down and picked it up, I didn't have time to think about where the sound of the gunshot had come from. The waiter ran over to me, looking as white as a sheet, and he bundled me into some sort of small pantry next to the kitchen. Fast thinking by the detective. He apprehended his suspect without a moment's delay. Yes, and because I was shut in the pantry, I have no idea what happened outside in the dining area. Ah, there you are. Well done, both of you. Professor Mikotoba. Well, it seems I was right. The pair of you make an outstanding team. You've exceeded my expectations, I have to say. Yes, it seems you planned this from the start. You arranged things so that I wouldn't be able to act as a lawyer in this trial. Our modern country is still in its infancy, our justice system even more so, which is why I firmly believe that we need to send our brightest young stars overseas to learn all they can. I wanted to avoid a situation that may have resulted in your study tour to Great Britain being cancelled. Well, it makes no difference. Lawyer or otherwise, I'm the kind of man who can't help his best friend avert the worst crisis of his life. I shouldn't waste everyone's time by going to study overseas anyway. What? What are you saying, Kazuma? So that's your stance. I was afraid you'd feel that way. Kazuma? Well then, it looks like it all comes down to you, young man. To me? Yes, you need to prove your innocence and uncover what really took place in that restaurant. I must say, I very much want to know the truth. After all, I have a personal connection to this case. Come to think of it, he said the same thing earlier this morning, didn't he? If you don't mind me asking, Professor, did you know the victim? Yes, I did. As you're probably aware, Dr. John H. Wilson was a visiting professor at UMI, and it is I who invited him. I see. I didn't know that before. Anyway, you're about to go into battle. The victim was a university professor from Great Britain, and a well-known one at that. Naturally, our government is looking to identify and punish the culprit as quickly as possible. But let's not forget who we're going up against. The gentlewoman whose involvement our police bureau went to extraordinary lengths to hide. Yes, and I'm sure the prosecution will be using every tool at their disposal to quash your case. But I have no doubt that you pair will put up a good fight right to the last. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Now then, I need you to run an errand at the university at once. There's something I think we may need.
Of course. Good luck, Kazuma-sama.
Defendant Naruhodo! Court recess is over. Please make your way back inside the courtroom at once.
It's time. Let's get back to it, partner. Let's go in there and deal a decisive blow before those old fossils know what's hit them. Kazuma. What? Thank you, really.
What for?
Well, if you hadn't said you believed in me, then I'm fairly sure I'd already have been found guilty by now.
Look, I have faith in you. As a lawyer, and as a friend.
Coming from you, that means a lot. If I'm found guilty in this trial, he's really gonna give up on his dreams of studying abroad. That's the kind of true friend he is. So this isn't just my battle anymore. Whoever we're up against, we absolutely cannot afford to lose. Alright then. I'll save the thank yous for after the trial.
You can treat me to one of those sukiyaki meals I like from Yume Cafeteria on University Street. With an extra large portion, of course. Alright, it's time. 22nd November, 12:09 p.m. Supreme Court of Judicature, Courtroom 2. The court hereby resumes the trial of Ryunosuke Naruhodo. Prosecutor Aochi, have you managed to subpoena the witness?
Yes, Your Excellency, against all odds.
And, thanks to a certain young stripling, the prosecution is now under rather painful scrutiny from the government.
Sorry.
Let the government scrutinize. That's their job. It's nothing to worry about.
It's highly unlikely that good relations we forge with Great Britain will emerge from this trial unscathed. Will you still think it's nothing to worry about when our new treaty breaks down and our nation founders?
Again, terribly sorry.
If the friendship between nations is so... Oh, let's try that again. If the friendship between our nations is really so fragile, then the treaty isn't worth the paper it's written on. You really have nothing to worry about, Ryunosuke.
What do you mean?
A secret trial, anxiety over some foreign government's opinions, a bungled investigation, missing witnesses. Is this what our nation's justice system is? Is this the Supreme Court of Japan or of England?
Shut up, you jumped up rookie boy. You and your friend know nothing. Nothing of the situation our nation finds itself in. By aligning ourselves with this great world power, we'll become strong. Diplomacy has never been more critical. Steady political maneuvering is what will secure our future.
I won't deny that I'm no expert. I'm just a student, and one who could arguably study harder too. But standing here now in our Supreme Court, there is one thing that I feel very strongly. A country that fails to uphold the truth and justice system is a country with no future at all.
Well said, Ryunosuke, despite the wide-eyed look of terror.
You little brats!
Thank you, Counsel. The court is the pinnacle of our nation's justice system, and exists solely for the pursuance of truth. With that in mind, this trial will now resume with the next witness taking the stand. The visiting student from Great Britain, Miss Jezio Brett.
Yes. Your Excellency!
Got a very fluffy hat and fluffy tail.
Well, what a delight it is to welcome such a fine gentlewoman to Japan, and from such a distant land.
Tea! Someone bring English tea. In England, no discussions take place without tea.
Is that true?
No idea.
So, could we possibly trouble you to state your name and occupation for the court?
Of course. My name is Satoru Hosonaga. I have been working undercover as the head waiter at La Carnival, but my true...
Yes, we know all about you already.
Inspector Hosonaga, where are your manners? In England, it's always ladies first.
Is that true?
No idea. More importantly, a little earlier today you said something to me. You said your powers of observation are the one thing you're sure of.
Oh, yeah, I think I did, didn't I?
Yet your description for this amazing sight was simply a woman. Sorry, Ryunosuke, but powers of observation aside, your powers of description are sorely lacking.
Guilty.
So, dear lady, once again, if we may trouble you for your name and occupation, please.
Okay. Oh no, she's speaking in English. We can't understand her because we are Japanese. Well, this is awkward.
I'm terribly sorry, dear lady, but... What?
Whisper, whisper. The lady says her name is Jezio Brett. She comes from London, England. She is a visiting research student, currently enrolled in UMI University's medical faculty.
Oh my! What a rare treat to hear the dulcet tones of the delightful language of the British people. I'm afraid I don't understand a word of you said, but it was as beautiful as the hummingbird's song.
As far as I can tell.
The detective is translating her words faithfully enough.
Yes, I agree. You'll obviously do fine in England, Kazuma. Her English doesn't matter to you at all, does it?
Nor you. You've clearly been paying attention in your English classes, Ryunosuke. The court thanks the beautiful lady for taking the stand. Now, if we may trouble you to confirm something, Miss Brett. 3 days ago, at a restaurant called La Carnival, a grim murder took place. The court has been led to believe that you were dining there with the victim, Dr. Wilson, at the time. Is that correct? Whisper, whisper.
She says yes. This could take some time.
So even though she's studying here in Japan, she can't speak any Japanese?
She'd like to apologize for disappearing from the scene. She says that she was due to make a presentation at the university, so she had to leave immediately.
Interesting, when you're the one who engineered her escape.
I was just following special orders from the Bureau.
Well now, dear lady, would you be so kind as to cast your eyes over this photograph print? Seeing as you were so unfortunately present at the scene of the crime, Could it be that your resplendent eyes caught sight of the wicked perpetrator, perhaps?
Apparently it was a very frightening and sorrowful sight. Do you mean to say? Yes, it was appear the lady did witness the crime. The very moment when the accused, standing right there in this courtroom, shot the victim in cold blood.
Gasp!
Order! Order in the court!
Did you hear that, Your Excellency? Here we have an absolutely conclusive witness statement.
Well, it looks like it's clear now. Clear who our real enemy is. Unfortunately, I will have to ask you to formally testify, if you please. Kindly tell the court the exact nature of this frightening and sorrowful sight you described. Whisper, whisper. Alright. A frightening and sorrowful sight. You got the presser on the English? I had arranged to meet for a slightly late luncheon with Dr. Wilson that day. The professor was unable to eat, so I ordered for myself only a beefsteak. After a while, the accused came over to greet the professor. They got into a fierce argument. Then not long afterwards, the accused took the professor's gun and shot him right before my eyes. I don't carry a gun myself, so obviously I couldn't have been the culprit. Well, I mean, you could just have not brought in a gun to court.
Yes!
But
Objection!
hold on, you're going too fast. I can't read. This is a condemning testimony indeed. No, I didn't have any argument with the person at all.
Quiet, you filthy wretch! Look at you and your black-hearted blackguard. And look at the snow-white angel. I'm sure even a dark-minded scoundrel like you can imagine whose words the court is going to believe.
You're still making the same mistakes, Ryunosuke. You mustn't blurt out when you're goaded like that. That's a lesson you need to learn. But he's so annoying. Of course, I was at the scene as well. I took statements from this lady and the two witnesses who testified before, and reported it back to the bureau. It was decided that Miss Brett was not involved, so I let her go. The testimonies of the last two witnesses were completely worthless, however. Well, even so, on the day in question, the lady was wearing the same outfit as she is today. As you can see, there is nowhere about her person where she could conceal the firearm. I don't know. There's a pretty big bird on top, a lot of flowers. She could probably sneak in there. Maybe on the tail thing, fluffy thing, on the back. Great minds think alike. I would think she could hide a gun almost anywhere in that outfit if she wanted to.
Unless and until the precise location where the witness is to have hidden a weapon can be shown, this is moot.
There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. Those are the witness's own words on the matter.
Ah!
That's ridiculous. If only I was allowed to lift up her dress, I could prove it.
Don't think about doing anything rash, Ryunosuke.
But I didn't fire up the gun I picked up. There must have been another something. There must have been another gun there that day.
You're right about that, which means this lady was hiding a gun somewhere. Yes, that's what we have to prove now. And to do so, we will need to pull her testimony apart. Uh-oh. I don't like how she smiled. The defense may now cross-examine the witness.
Yes, Your Excellency.
Alright, what could go wrong? Oh good, we don't have to press on that English.
After 2 p.m. in fact. That's really quite a late lunch, isn't it?
You don't keep up with the latest fashions from Britain, do you? Late luncheons are en vogue. Isn't that right?
No.
Ah!
A decisive English no has quite a sting to it. The gentlewoman is currently working in the victim's research laboratory, it seems. So it was apparently a daily occurrence that they would lunch together.
But on the day in question, the victim had another appointment at the clinic first.
Yes, which we can prove from the medical report card that was submitted as evidence earlier.
That's right. Miss Brett and the victim went to lunch following the victim's treatment, which is why it was so late.
Yes, that all makes perfect sense. Such wonderful logic. What a shining example of English intelligence this fine gentlewoman is.
So you both arrived at the restaurant. What happened next? First, he was unable to eat.
Yes! He was unable to eat, you say? And that was because he just had the tooth removed at the Hota clinic, right?
That's right.
You're supposed to actually check with the witness before answering?
Was Miss Brett aware of that fact?
It seems so, yes. She heard that the professor was going to undergo treatment. So that would mean that it was you who ate the steak pictured here. Is that right, Miss Brett?
That's right, yes. The print you have there shows the table exactly as it was left after the horrifying events.
Exactly as it was left.
Dear me, what a harrowing experience. You have traveled to a distant land on the far side of the world to be embroiled in such a tragic incident. Have no fear, my dear lady. I swear I will crush the evil fiend that has subjected you to this terrible plight.
So the victim, Dr. Wilson, had nothing to eat or drink at all. That's right. Other than some carbonated water.
Just water?
Yes, the professor was unable to eat, but he had been given permission to drink water. So it appears that the diners toasted their lunch with a glass of water each.
They each raised a glass of carbonated water.
What do you think, Rinosuke, about the witness's last statement? It's very meaningful.
Slap. That last statement of yours, Miss Brett, has a profound bearing on this case.
Well, how fascinating. Do tell us, what is this profound bearing?
Uh-oh.
The significance of the statement will become apparent when the time is right. The defense calls for the witness's last statement to be formally added to the testimony.
Well, sidestepped, counsel.
Very well, Miss Brett. Kindly repeat what you said to be added to your official testimony.
Gladly,
she said.
That was brilliant, Kazuma. I'm going to remember that one.
Which one?
The significance will become apparent when the time is right. I could really use the phrase.
I'd hope there are some more useful tips you're picking up from this experience than that, Ryonosuke.
You stay for myself and the professor and I shared cheers of aggressive carbonated water. I believe this is it, because this picture only shows one glass. So I'm going to say this is it. What's that face? That's it. Let me just confirm something, please. It's to do with this photographic print. Just a short while ago, you spoke of this print showing the victim's table at the crime scene. That it was exactly as it was left.
That is correct. the lady says.
Slap. Well, it's odd, very odd.
Hear me. What's odd is the defense's inability to express itself.
Wait, Nosuke, what is it about the print that looks odd to you? Well, obviously, it's the cheers.
That cheers?
Miss Brett just told us that she and the professor said cheers over a glass of water. But if that's true, there should be 2 glasses on the table, not 1. Oh.
You're quite right, Counsel. There's only 1 glass picture here.
Are we supposed to be impressed by this nitpicking over minutia? What possible difference does a presence or absence of a glass on the make on the case?
Minutia, you say? Could it be that the detective here removed the glass from the table to conceal the lady's presence? Of course not. I would never do something so reckless.
But there should have been 2 glasses on the table. Or are you going to try to tell me that you can clink with only 1?
You're quite right. I certainly took 2 glasses to the table. Inspector, what did the lady say? It would seem that it was Miss Brett who took the glass from the table.
What?
It was all so terrifying, everything that happened. I panicked and thought I should try to hide the fact that I'd been there at all, she's saying. Good gracious.
Sorry.
There, as I assured the court before, this is of no consequence at all.
Oh, please.
We must remember that this student had just murdered this lady's lunchhouse companion before her very eyes. Who could blame her for concealing a glass of water or 2 in a state of disarray?
That's absurd.
Oh, really? So do we take it that you're now going to accuse this vulnerable, young and beautiful woman of mischief?
What? No, this can't be.
I'd like to know exactly how the lady took the glass from the scene in her hand. That makes the most sense. It would seem that she slipped it into the small handbag she was carrying. A handbag, you say? Yes, Your Excellency. A small, handheld pouch, commonly carried by well-to-do women in England.
So, the beautiful lady has very graciously explained how and why she removed the glass from the scene now. However, the fact remains that this glass has absolutely no bearing on the case. This student has been trying to confuse the court with logical reasoning, but in the end, it comes to nothing. No more pretentious accusations. You have wasted enough time already.
Indeed, the lady has offered a satisfactory explanation as to why she removed this glass. I think henceforth we can consider the matter to have no bearing on the case. Counsel for the defense, are you in agreement?
Well, I don't know, really.
If you want to pursue this matter further, you're going to need to show that it has some deeper significance.
Yeah, you're right.
So she took the glass away in her handbag. If there's a deeper significance there, it's the handbag. Because she could have put a gun in a handbag. One could think.
Wait, the lady who put the glass in her handbag, you say?
Yes, do try to keep up. It's already been explained to the court that all English gentlewomen carry handbags for small items.
Let me see. A little while ago, Miss Brett stated the following. There are no pockets in my outfit. I have nowhere to hide a gun. But what she forgot to mention was her handbag, in which it would be perfectly possible to conceal a gun.
You're right. Well done, partner. I had a feeling you'd picked up on that too.
What are you insinuating, you flyer blackguard?
It's really very simple. The gunshot was heard when the defendant picked up the gun from the restaurant floor. As he didn't fire that gun, we came to deduce there must have been another firearm at the scene. The true murder weapon, if you will.
You can't seriously be suggesting.
Inspector Hosonaga.
Yes.
Did you or did you not search Miss Jezaiel Brett's handbag on the day of the murder?
No, sir, I did not.
As I thought. In other words, another gun, the one that was actually used to kill the professor, could have been hiding in Miss Brett's handbag.
No!
Order, order, order.
Oh, what is the meaning of this, Inspector?
The meaning of what, Prosecutor Ouchie?
Why on earth did you not have the lady open her handbag and show you the contents at the time? Thanks to your bungling incompetence, now she has to endure these uncomfortable accusations.
Brilliant work, partner. Now we have a chance to expose the real woman behind the mask.
Do you think so, Kazuma?
Well, what a sorry situation. Clearly, you have no faith in the police. As I said, I did not search the lady's handbag after the shooting, simply because it was unnecessary.
Unnecessary in what way?
I ought to thank the student lawyer, really.
I wonder what the other side of that towel looks like. It's probably like just covered in blood, given how much he coughs up.
I have a piece of evidence here that I had completely forgotten about. This photographic print.
Well, she has a... No, that's not she, that's he. Has a funny looking birthmark.
This print is of a photograph that I thought would be prudent to take immediately after the shooting. As you can see, it clearly shows Miss Brett's handbag.
Well, I never. You can see right through to what's inside.
That's right. Apparently, meshwork bags like these are the height of fashion in London at the moment.
So the contents are clearly visible.
Exactly. So there was no need to search the lady's handbag. If there had been a gun inside, it would have been immediately obvious.
Ah!
As you can see, there's nothing to imply Miss Brett's guilt here. Thank you for helping to prove that, Naruhodo-san.
Ah!
Order, order. Inspector Hosonaga, you will submit that print as evidence at once.
Certainly, Your Excellency.
I think you've had long enough to cross-examine the witness, counsel. The court has now been shown considerable evidence. As the photographic print just submitted into the court record appears to have no further significance, I am satisfied there is no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must make my ruling.
Indeed, There is only one logical conclusion: that the pathetic rookie slumped over the bench before us is the only possible perpetrator of this crime.
No, just when I thought I was beginning to turn things around, I'm in a worse situation than I was at the start. Dot dot dot. Kazuma? I'm sorry, Rinosuke. Huh? Now that the cross-examination of the witness is over, there's no way to force the trial to continue. What? You mean this is it?
I must say, you put up quite the fight for a rookie student, but the weak are meat while the strong eat. You are wasting your time. There is no way to defeat true justice. A fact you can chew on to your heart's content from the inside of your cell.
This can't be happening. Am I really going to be found guilty of a crime that I didn't commit? And Kazuma, his dream of going to study in Great Britain will slip through his fingers. Kazuma, what? Is there really no chance now of turning this trial around?
You heard the judge. There's nothing about that last photograph the detective produced that we can contest, which means there's no basis on which we can argue for the trial to continue. Very well. I will now proceed immediately to the ruling.
It seems we'll be able to report to the British government on time, after all.
That smug little Ryunosuke Naruhodo, having considered all of the evidence placed before me, I hereby find you. Ooh, good slam. Wait, Your Excellency. Ryunosuke.
I don't think you can rule on this case yet.
This amateurish is getting tedious. When His Excellency deems that the trial is over, he gives his ruling. That is the most basic protocol of the courtroom.
Your Excellency, just a moment ago you said this. As the photographic print just submitted appears to have no further significance, there was no longer any room for doubt in this matter, and I must make my ruling. Now, that means that there was a problem with the evidence. Some significant detail. The ruling on this case at this time would be out of the question.
This is blatant straw crunching. Look at this photographic print. All it shows is the handbag the gentlewoman was carrying on the day in question. There can be no problem with this evidence.
You'd better know what you're doing, Ryunosuke. I understand your objection, counsel. Certainly, the new evidence submitted by the detective has not undergone the court's scrutiny. However, I fail to see how we can glean any new information from this handbag.
My thoughts exactly. Really, the prosecution is becoming tired of this rookie's desperate wheezes.
Yes, I am desperate, but this isn't a wheeze. There's something about this photograph that just doesn't seem right. If only I could put my finger on it.
Very well. I will grant the defense one final opportunity. Let's see.
What?
But to be warned that if I am unsatisfied by your response here, the trial will be over with immediate effect. Do I make myself clear?
Yes, Your Excellency.
So, take another look at the photographic print Inspector Hosonaga submitted before. You will identify for the court where in this print we see the significant detail to which you have alluded. I mean, this kind of feels like, whatever this is, kind of feels like
the thing that I have alluded to.
Yes!
Let's try it. Look at this. Here. There's a very unusual mark on the victim's wrist.
That is true. It looks almost like a burn of some description.
Objection!
Dear me, I was pondering what new piffle you had come up with. A burn, you say, on the victim's wrist. Clearly, that has nothing to do whatsoever with the magnificent lady's handbag.
Yes, that is a burn mark. You're right.
Go on, Inspector.
The police coroner also noticed it when he was performing the post-mortem examination. It was deemed unrelated to the cause of death, so he didn't note it in his report.
What did I tell you? In any case, we have no idea when the victim suffered this burn, do we? And no possible way of knowing either.
Don't we have the victim's journal? The more I look at it, the more I find myself intrigued by the curious shape of this mark. Let me look at the journal. Oh, it was just a medical report card. It's clear record of some kind of medical treatment. Entry for the day the person was killed. Extraction using anesthesia. Extraction, tooth out. But I wonder if there's something in the medical record talking about getting a burn. There's no food. Yeah. Okay. We'll come back to it. However, as Prosecutor Awuchi points out, unless a firm connection to the case can be shown, I cannot allow any further time to spend on the precise details of this burn.
Excuse me, Your Excellency. It would seem Miss Brett has a lunch appointment with the Dean and other university staff. She would like to know if she may be excused from the stand now.
Oh, of course, dear lady. We wouldn't hold you up any longer. I'm sure His Excellency is about to give his final ruling anyway.
What you're thinking on this, Ryosuke? Do you believe this burn does have something to do with this case?
To be honest, I'm not really sure. But if I don't keep pushing, then it's all over. So I was thinking I should keep digging and digging in hope that I might uncover something useful.
Yes, you're right.
I am?
If we can just link that burn to the case, if we can do that, we might be able to price this shutting door back. Oh, pry. No. That's a weird word. We might be able to pry the shutting door back open again.
Just give up, Counsel.
Excuse me.
You can't possibly hope to do that.
Indeed, I'm afraid that without evidence, I can't allow you to pursue what is little more than conjecture. But if we had evidence that irrefutably linked the burn on the victim's wrist to the case, then would you allow it? I would, yes. To tell the truth, I had noticed that burn, but as soon as you pointed it out, what I did notice was the color draining from Miss Brett's face.
Really? I have to find some link between that burn and the case.
Okay, so we're looking for a bull-shaped... It looks like a bull head.
This is the moment of truth. It's time to find some evidence that proves what the burn really means.
So then, the defense will now present its evidence to the court. The evidence that demonstrates an inextricable connection between the victim burn and this trial. So I don't think it's going to be anything here. You're looking... It looks like a bull.
There it is. Can't see it in this photo, but you can see it in this photo.
Yes!
What's this? Council? Yet another print.
Yes, Your Excellency. I believe photographic prints are an amazing invention. When we humans look at a scene, we miss things. But in a photograph, things we may have overlooked at the time are recorded forevermore.
Do hurry up, rookie. What are you trying to say? To inconvenience this poor lady any further really would be quite inexcusable.
Actually, we may need you to stay with us a little longer, if you don't mind, Miss Brett. You see, it's very clearly visible in this other photograph. How did the victim come to have that unusually shaped burn on his wrist? The reason is recorded here forevermore.
What? How?
Objection!
You can't fool me with your little bluffs, boy. If that's your game, then let's see how it plays out. Show the court exactly what you mean. What is in this photograph that explains the reason for the victim's burn?
That little mark right there.
Yes!
The beefsteak?
Actually, the point is the metal plate the steak was served on.
The plate? Ah!
Your Excellency, are you alright?
As you can see... Oh, wrong voice. As you can see, there's an emblem on the plate. I would guess it's some sort of trademark of La Carnival. Ugh. This emblem on the plate. And the victim's burn. Good slam. Are exactly the same shape.
Ah!
Ryunosuke, you genius. You're spot on. Which means the victim must have suffered this burn while he was present at the restaurant.
Objection!
Okay, but what does this change?
But even if that is the case, you can't know if it happened on the day in question or not. It could have been the day before, or the day before that. It most likely happened at some other unrelated time.
Well,
Objection!
oh, is this gonna come back to the medical record that I was looking at earlier? But sadly, Prosecutor Aoji, the chances of that are extremely slim. Thanks.
Why?
The outline of the burn is clearly discernible. Such a serious injury would have caused quite a commotion in the restaurant. Wouldn't you agree, Inspector Hosonaga? I can't imagine having missed such a terrible disaster, certainly.
But
I would say, looking at the picture of the wound, that it wasn't suffered very long ago. And although it is not a particularly large burn, it's extremely well defined, as the defense just pointed out. This was no mild burn, that's for sure. Can you be more specific, Inspector? Well, let's see. If the plate was around 90 degrees centigrade, a burn like that would have taken around 3 seconds.
It's inconceivable that the victim wouldn't have let out a scream of pain then.
I've been investigating at the restaurant for several weeks already, but I've not heard anyone scream at all. As the head waiter of La Carnival, I can testify to that without hesitation.
But you're a detective, not a waiter.
Yes!
Good slam. There you have it. Something isn't right here. As the detective said, anyone who burnt themselves on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds would scream in pain. There's no question of that. And yet, Inspector Hosonaga never heard the professor scream. Not on that day or any before it. That's right. And the strange thing is, on the day he was shot, I didn't hear him cry out either. What are you suggesting? Well, if the professor had carelessly laid his wrist on the plate for anything like 3 seconds that day,
That would be beyond careless, I think, Counsel.
Then the rest of us in the restaurant, myself, the sergeant, and the old antiques dealer, all of us would, without any question, have heard him scream. Wouldn't you agree, Prosecutor Aochi?
Well, yes, I suppose.
So the question is, why didn't a single person hear Dr. Wilson scream?
Gas. I almost don't believe it. Rinosuke, do you think? It's thinking time.
Can it really be true? I never dreamt we'd arrive at a conclusion like this, but I'm starting to think that maybe we've been led into a terrible trap. There's only one explanation I can think of to make sense of this apparent impossibility. On the day in question, when he suffered the burn to his wrist, Dr. Wilson
Was already dead.
No man could remain silent while his wrist was burning on a piping hot plate for 3 whole seconds. That's clearly impossible, apart from one particular situation.
Counsel, are you suggesting?
Yes, it's only possible if the man was already dead.
Already?
Dead? You might be onto something here.
Knowing what we know now, it's the only possible explanation. When the beefsteak was brought to Dr. Wilson's table that day, the professor was already dead.
That's madness.
Yes! Order, please! Counsel, explain this absurd notion at once. The victim was killed by a gunshot.
That's right. That's absolutely right, Your Excellency. This is just another ridiculous ploy by the rookie student, but clearly he has no grasp of the facts.
Objection!
No, Prosecutor Aochi, it is you who has no grasp of the facts.
I beg your pardon?
As soon as it became apparent that the victim had suffered that burn while at the restaurant, this whole case was turned upside down. Or have you not grasped that yet? Your Excellency, the court must hear from this witness again. If it's true, as we now believe, that the victim was already dead before the gunshot was heard, it's highly likely that Miss Brett knows something about it. Incredible. I certainly didn't anticipate this twist of events. I'm sorry to say, Miss Brett, that you will have to forget your luncheon engagement.
But, Your Excellency!
The justice system in our country may be in its infancy, but rest assured all reasonable doubt must be dispelled before I am prepared to pass judgment.
Thank you, Your Excellency. What was that smile? Yes, of course. I mean, I'd be delighted to help, especially if it helps relations between my country and yours.
Miss Brett, you speak Japanese?
Well, of course I do. I am studying in your country, after all.
But then, why have you been speaking through an interpreter until now?
My mother tongue, the Queen's English, is the most refined and elegant language in the world. As a gentlewoman, I try to avoid speaking in your vulgar tones as much as possible. But it seems the men in this land possess none of the chivalrous virtues of English gentlemen, so I can see that I shall have to lower myself to communicating with you all on your own level.
Well, you are the epitome of a true English gentleman. We are truly honored by this. the lavish consideration you so graciously afford us.
I see. In that case, Miss Brett, I will now ask you to testify in your own words about the events leading up to the death of the victim, Dr. Wilson. So we're finally going to hear her own words on the matter. Things are getting interesting, Ryunosuke.
Unfortunately, I have no idea when the poor man burned his wrist like that. When the waiter brought my steak, the professor and I raised our glasses in a toast. As far as I've heard, the post-mortem report showed no other possible cause of death besides the gunshot. If there's some other way a man's life can be taken without leaving a trace, please do show me. But of course, this country's inferior investigative techniques probably wouldn't pick up on it anyway.
I mean, it could have been poisoned, I guess. That's one way to do it without leaving wound, I guess. That most captivating and beautiful testimony will go down in the Supreme Court's history. Thank you.
Easy does it.
I hope that this is the last time I'll have to sully my lips with the coarse tones of your unbecoming tongue. Oh, and forgive me. I do hope I haven't insulted anyone. Not at all, not at all. It is a delight merely to hear you speak, dear lady. And it seems very clear from your testimony that this boorish talk of the victim burn is utterly irrelevant.
I will be speaking to your country's Minister of Justice about what has happened here today.
The Minister of Justice!
May that irritating little bully of a student be given the harshest punishment possible. Amen.
Huh?
Thanks? But was that a prayer, then?
Well, you have to forgive the irritation, Miss Brett, and put up with the cross-examination now. I expect you've noticed that this little bully of a student, as you put it, doesn't miss much. I'm sure I don't need to remind you, counsel, that this will be your final cross-examination in this trial. If you fail to demonstrate any problem with this witness's testimony, I will be ruling on the case immediately. Is that clear? That's a new one.
Yes, Your Excellency.
Then you may proceed with the cross-examination. All right, let's do this.
Yes!
But his hand was on the searing hot plate for at least 3 whole seconds. You can't not have noticed.
Do you think so?
No, this is not gonna be good.
Let me ask you something. Sorry? Ever since I arrived at this courtroom, and even still now, the fly on those unsightly black trousers of yours has been wide open.
You can't not have noticed, can you?
Uh-huh. What?
Ah! What fun! You hadn't realized. The dear lady is absolutely right.
As your friend, you've embarrassed me as well as yourself, Ryunosuke.
Why didn't you tell me? Dr. Wilson was a true English gentleman.
She has no eyes.
He chose honorable silence over a vulgar scream. Can your tiny brains imagine such a thing?
That's some good old-fashioned white supremacy.
Yes, I think my tiny brain can.
Well, I can't.
Anyway. Yeah, that one didn't go very well for us. So we try the next one.
As you testified before, you were drinking carbonated water, is that right?
Dr. Wilson was only permitted to drink water at that time, if you remember, which explains why he ordered that drink. Correct, waiter?
Exactly as you say, sir. Although,
Although,
whether or not the professor actually drank any of the water when I delivered the steak to the table, I'm afraid I don't remember that.
Damn you. Ah, I have enough English to understand that at least. For the benefits of for the benefit of others in the court, it means bless you.
I think it means the exact opposite. Anyway.
Yes!
Yes, it's written here in the paperwork. Fatal hemorrhage from ballistic trauma. Yes.
Luckily for all of us, a little burn on the wrist isn't going to kill us. And as there were no other signs of trauma on the victim's body to indicate some other cause of death, it can only have been the bullet. Whoa. It can only have been the bullet from your gun that put an end to this innocent man's life.
But it doesn't make sense. The burn must have happened straight away, when the plate was first brought to the table by the waiter.
Yes, that's true. If it had cooled even slightly, it wouldn't have been able to make a burn like that.
And if the victim burnt his wrist on the hot plate as soon as it was brought out from the kitchen, then he must have already been dead at that point.
And yet, the fact is that the victim was killed by a gunshot to the chest. Until you're able to show the court evidence to disprove that, this is a complete waste of time.
I concur. Prosecutor Auchi is right.
Ah.
Yes!
I mean, yeah, you could poison someone.
Without leaving a trace.
If someone is shot or strangled or stabbed or thrown from a height, however a person's life is taken, there are always telltale traces on the body. Quite right, dear lady. And as a police force thoroughly examine the body of the deceased, there can be no doubt. Isn't that right, Inspector Hosonaga?
As I've said, I always aim for a flawless investigation.
There would be physical traces with all those causes of death, that's true. But maybe there's some other way of killing someone that doesn't leave a mark. If, heaven forbid, you doubt me, young man, you're going to have to tell everyone how exactly you think the professor did lose his life. Otherwise, I'm afraid your argument falls rather flat, doesn't it?
Oh no, perish the thought, calling such a sweet young lady's innocence into question. On my honor, I, Takatsuchi Auchi, will cut down any who dare cast such aspersions.
A way of killing someone that leaves no trace. We need some evidence to back us up here. Yes, evidence. Although, to be fair, he was on, he was on anesthetics. So, he doesn't feel pain. Or at least, not to the same degree. I'm guessing that's it.
Yes!
Oops. Skip. Oh, this is it. In the lands of the Great British Empire, the police store everything found at a crime scene for later examination. But in this country, you investigate once, and that's the end of it. Isn't that so?
Quite right. La Carnival is all open for business as usual today, just days after the incident.
Exactly. Which means that even if the investigation takes a different direction, vital evidence may be lost.
What's this?
It doesn't even occur to your naive detectives to try to preserve the crime scene. I'm trying to be as tactful about this as I can, you understand?
A killer blow. This lady is as formidable as she is beautiful.
Amazing. He's actually admitting our police may be flawed. Perhaps Prosecutor Auchi is finally starting to see sense. I very much doubt that. Still, there's something about what Miss Brett just said. There was a moment before when something didn't seem quite right.
What do you think, Rinosuke?
I think it's going terribly. No matter how much I press her, I'm not turning up any new information.
Yes, as I suspected. She's a tough witness. We need to find a way to break her testimony, or the cross-examination will be over.
But that would mean I have to find a way. There must be some clue somewhere to help us find a chink in her armor. Kazuma. What, Ryunosuke? There is one thing I noticed. Something that's been bothering me. Bothering you? You mean about Miss Brett? Actually, no. About the person sitting next to her. Inspector Hosonaga.
The detective?
Yes, he seemed to react a little strangely to Miss Brett's last statement. I was wondering if it might be significant, if it might present an opening, maybe.
Alright, I have an idea.
Try pressing her on the last statement one more time. If you think so, but this time, instead of targeting the woman herself. Let's see what we can get out of the detective. Alright then, I wonder what Kazuma's thinking. I'll find out soon enough, I suppose, once I press Miss Brett on her last statement again.
Alright, to the last statement. Oops. Skip. Come on, we've done this already. Okay, I'm pretty sure this is going to end up being about the anesthesia. Because, I mean, if the doctor was on anesthesia, then his pain wouldn't have been that great, which is why he wouldn't have had to have screamed when he burned himself.
Inferior? What do you mean by that?
We've already... Is that so? Exactly, which means the event evidence may be lost. Say something.
Yes, there it is again. The detective's reaction is just the same as before. Why?
Up until now, the detective has been in the stand with Miss Brett as her interpreter. But things are very different now. For this testimony, the detective is just listening to what the Englishwoman has to say. This could be a golden opportunity.
What do you mean?
When people are actually testifying, they're usually very careful not to let anything slip. However, when they're listening to someone else speak, you'll find they often let their guard down.
You're right. Look at him. He's lost in his own thoughts.
It's time to pursue the man and his train of thought.
Sorry? Pursue?
I'll explain how to do it now, Ryunosuke. It's all to do with the witness marker.
What marker?
Oh, that marker. At the moment, we're focused on Miss Brett, who's the person actually making the current statement. But by moving the marker left and right with the D-pad, you can turn your attention to other people in the stand. While you're looking at the other witness, you'll be able to pursue them with A. If you can catch the person at just the right time, you might uncover some new information to pursue. If you ever notice a strange atmosphere amongst the people on the stand, take a good look around. Alright then, so I should first move the marker, then pursue. Let's see what's on his mind. Here we go.
Wait.
Let's look around. Pursue. Stay with me. Yeah. What's the meaning of this? Oh.
I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to shock you. He really was lost in his thoughts, deeply.
It looked like you were thinking something just now, Inspector.
Perhaps having heard what the lady next to it just had to say.
If there's something you'd like to say, please share it with the court.
What is the meaning of this? It's the delightful Englishwoman who's testifying at the moment. You can't find fault with her testimony, then the cross-examination should be over immediately.
Oh, is that how it works?
Absolutely not.
Huh?
The detective is in the stand, which makes him a valid witness.
Slap. Yes, not to mention the fact that he's intimately involved with the case.
Inspector Hosonaga,
Yes.
do you have something to add in relation to the statement just made by Miss Brett?
Suspense. Well, yes, if you don't mind, I would like to speak. The lady is right. Our country's police practices are not as modern as those used in Great Britain. Which is why I, Satoru Hosonaga, always strive to make every investigation I'm involved in flawless. What do you really mean by that? I'll tell you what I mean. I won't have any evidence lacking on my watch. I'm not afraid to take everything I can from the scene of the crime. It's preserving evidence, you see. I don't care if they call me a crime scene thief. I'm not ashamed of what I've done. A crime scene thief? Well, it looks like the lady's remarks touch a nerve there. Take this, for example. Is that? It's the bottle of carbonated water that I took to the victim's table on the day in question. And yes, it's lost all of its fizz, having been opened 3 days ago now. But it was carbonated water. I don't care what anyone says. Yes, there's some left in the bottle, I can see it. One day, our police force will be among the best in the world. The time is coming, I guarantee it. I can't say I condone the witness's actions, but I do understand the sentiment. The court will accept the glass bottle of water as evidence. Alright, let's take a look at this bottle. Miss Brett, can you confirm this is indeed the bottle of the bottle from which you drank on the day of the victim's death? Yes, it was that bottle. What was that about? She seemed to avert her eyes when she answered the judge's question. Very well. Counsel, you may resume the cross-examination. And the inspector will kindly control his fervor. Is anything different? Oops. New evidence. Exact excellent work, Ryosuke. I never even thought of pursuing another witness over the current witness's statements. That was a great idea of yours, Kazuma. Well, it was all thanks to you noticing that the detective had reacted strangely to what the lady said. I'd never have guessed he had all that bubbling away under the surface. Speaking of bubbling, to be honest, you keep surprising me at every turn. Sorry? Oh, never mind. So we know that Dr. Wilson was killed at around the time the steak was brought to his table, and by some means left no physical trace on his body. Cough, cough, poison. If we could just demonstrate how it was done. Well, I do have one idea about that, about how the professor was killed. Maybe I should just present the evidence and see what happens. Alright. Let's, because I mean, there's some other way. Yes, you could have poisoned the bottle. Can't examine. Jump out. Ah, that would have been funny. Label's written in a foreign language that I don't recognize. Do you know what it says? I think it's French. Ugh. Very expensive water. That's what I was asking. Go to France and ask. You could just say that you don't know. Okay, well that's not very helpful. Let me look inside the bottle. I can't find it any other place. Alright, I'm willing to present this.
Yes!
Alright, music stopped. What's this? The bottle of water.
Actually, there is one method of killing a man without leaving a trace that comes to mind. Obviously, I'm referring to poison.
Poison?
On the day of his death, we know that Dr. Wilson drank from this bottle of carbonated water. Could it be that there was poison inside? Uh-oh. Could it be that the professor actually died after taking a sip from his glass? That explains why Brett didn't, like, there was only one cup. She hid her glass. Order, order, order. And on that day, who was sitting at the same table as the professor and was able to slip the poison into his drink? There's only one person who could possibly have done it. Jezael Brett, it was you!
This is outrageous to suggest such a thing without a scrap of evidence. You little rookie imbecile. Have you even considered how delicate situation our country finds itself in now? Have you forgotten that we've only just signed a accord of friendship with the British Empire? Have you even the vaguest inkling that in your rash accusations could jeopardize the entire treaty?
This is not a political arena. This is a trial to determine one individual's guilt with respect to one crime. The fact that this woman is British makes no difference. We're here to determine the truth.
If I may.
I will silence you forever for this degradeful.
Uh-oh.
It is you who should be silent.
Of course. Dear lady.
Where did that come from? She just snapped. I'm afraid that I may have spoken unfairly before. I offer my host humble apologies.
I'm sorry, my lady. To what are you referring?
I described your police force as inferior, but no matter how inferior they may be, you still investigated this particular point thoroughly, I believe. The bottle, I mean, Inspector, and whether it contained poison or not.
Of course.
You did? Have you forgotten what my guiding principle is already? I strive for flawless investigation every time. I don't believe it. Naturally, we tested the inside of the bottle and its contents.
And what did you find, Inspector?
I ordered the test for every toxin that's available in this country at this present time. Okay, but it's a toxin from another country, say, another island nation, off the coast of another continent, that one of the witnesses just happens to be from. Just me spitballing. We could find no traces of poison of any description in the bottle of carbonated water, Your Excellency. What? Are you sure? The tests were meticulously carried out by the chief coroner himself. No! No! I assume that it was a British poison that did it. I'm very grateful to all you Japanese. You successfully established my complete innocence in this horrid affair. Thank you.
But of course, dear lady. The pleasure was all ours.
I was so sure.
This can't be right. Everything falls into place as if he was poisoned. Thank you, counsel. I think that cross-examination has clarified everything. As the prosecution had asserted, a shot to the chest from the gun is the only conceivable cause of death. Furthermore, the accused, who by his own admission was holding this weapon, is the only possible culprit. I'm done for. The court wishes to apologize for the great inconvenience this has caused you, Miss Brett.
Oh no, I'm just glad the matter is resolved.
Before proceeding, I must ask the counsel for the defense. Do you have any further new evidence to present to the court at this point?
Kazuma?
I'm sorry, Ryunosuke. I have nothing more.
Well, if you'll excuse me now, I really must be leaving.
Uh-oh. Who was that? Oh, that lady. I don't think we ever got her name.
Please, wait. Isn't that...
Oh. What is the meaning of this?
Forgive me for intruding on court proceedings, Your Excellency. Susato Mikotoba, Judicial Assistant to the Offense.
Mikotoba?
In my darkest hour, with nowhere left to go, she appeared like a bolt of lightning. And in her hand, she carried a small package wrapped in a furoshiki cloth.
Are we testing for British poison now? I hope that's what we're doing, because I'm pretty sure that's what's going on here. It makes the most sense. I mean, the guy specifically said, I have tested for every poison in this country, or that is available in this country. He never said anything about poisons available in other countries. Alright, let's finish this up. Well, I understand you are the judicial assistant to the defense, but why this sudden ingress into my courtroom?
Ha! A judicial assistant, and a woman no less. The rules state that females are not permitted into this court of law other than to testify.
Yes, I fully understand. I ask for only 5 minutes of time. I have some vital evidence that I must hand over to the defense.
You're too late, little girl. This trial has already been concluded.
5 minutes. I will not allow a moment more.
But, Your Excellency,
I am most grateful.
I think I need to come up with a different voice.
Who exactly are you? I'm sorry, there's no time. Please simply accept this for now.
What is it? A report about something written in English.
It's Jezeel Brett's research.
The Englishwoman's.
After the trial resumed earlier, I hurried back to the university. I went to Dr. Wilson's laboratory in the medical faculty and borrowed this paper.
Oh, yes, that's right. Miss Brett was studying under the professor, wasn't she? So does this research, whatever it is, have something to do with the case?
I'm afraid I don't know. I haven't been able to listen to the proceedings of the trial myself.
Oh, no, of course not. Special characteristics of curare, and its effects on human subjects. Interesting. Curare? What's that? I've never heard that word before.
time's up. The prosecution demands the immediate removal of this female trespasser from the courtroom.
There was too little time for me to read it in detail, but I've summarized what I could on a note just inside the cover. If you think it could be valuable, please cast your eye over it.
This is wonderful. Thank you. Their voices are too similar.
Goodbye then, and good luck.
You have had long enough, counsel. We cannot detain our English guest any longer. I ask the prosecution and the defense now, one last time. Does either side have any further evidence to present to the court? I presume not, but...
The prosecution has made its case convincingly enough already. Nothing more to add, Your Excellency.
Ryunosuke, we're out of options here. This really is our very last chance.
Yes, I know.
Good slam.
Your Excellency, the defense does have new evidence.
That look. The unyielding stare of a true Japanese warrior. Well, Miss Brett?
Yes, Your Excellency?
If you wouldn't mind, perhaps you could grace us with your presence for a little longer.
It's been a delightful invitation, but I'm afraid... It's not so very long until tea time.
I have to politely decline. Forgive me, Miss Brett. It seems I wasn't clear. I realized it was phrased as a question. However, I must ask you to treat that as an order.
I've said it many times before, but the Japanese language makes no sense.
My apologies, dear lady. So, Counsel, what is this new evidence that demands the court's attention?
Poison made from the bark of certain trees in the jungle of South America. Instant paralysis. This is believed anesthetic. So he didn't suffocate because he got shot. Or at least that's what it looked like. This.
Yes!
Miss Jezebel Brett, we understand that you were studying under Dr. Wilson at Umai University, doing research. Research, by the sheer coincidence, perhaps, into a deadly poison.
What?
Poison? Where are you going with this, Counsel?
A toxin known as curare, Your Excellency. Even the slightest amount of this deadly poison entering the body leads to instant death.
What complete and utter nonsense! Curare, you say? I've never even heard of it.
You wouldn't have done.
What do you mean?
I mean that you wouldn't have heard of the curare before, for one very simple reason. It doesn't exist in our country. It doesn't exist.
Correct. Which means, no matter what test the police can do for toxins, they'd never identify curare. Why? Because there is no test available here that can identify the presence of this highly deadly poison.
What?
Okay, so it wasn't a British poison, but it was still a poison from a foreign place that the Japanese tests wouldn't have gotten. So I'm still right.
Order! Counsel, does this deadly poison truly exist?
According to the report authored by the visiting research student from England, curare has long been used by the tribes people of South America as a poison to lace their arrows. It seems that it's reasonably well known among European doctors and scientists.
To lace their arrows?
The reports state that it has produced from the extract of a tree that grows deep in the Amazonian jungle, and it was first brought to Europe at the turn of the century by explorers. It claims that animals shot by arrows laced with curare suffer instant death. Doesn't that about sum it up, Miss Brett?
Objection!
There we go.
Trumpery! These aspirations are utter trumpery! To start with, if the victim had been administered some of the so-called deadly poison, he would have been squirming and writhing in pain, and the other diners would have surely noticed.
That's true. What do you say to that, Inspector? Obviously, I would have noticed a disturbance like that. I don't remember anything like that either. I didn't notice the professor being in any kind of pain. According to this, however, it's the other way around.
What do you mean, the other way around?
The very fact that the victim didn't show any visible signs of distress is evidence that curare was used.
Explain yourself, Counsel.
The moment this toxin enters a person's system, it causes instant paralysis. In other words, afflicted victims lose all strength and are completely unable to move. Even if they were in total agony, there would be no visible signs of pain at all. How terrible! Obviously, if a man lost all his strength in his muscles, he'd collapse on the floor. But with a chair under him for support, as Dr. Wilson did, the effects could go largely unnoticed. But I don't follow, Kazuma. That's just paralysis. I thought the poison caused us death. The full explanation is extremely unpleasant. The poison causes immediate paralysis, as I said, leaving the victim unable to move. But after a short time, the paralysis is so severe, it causes the muscle that control respiration to fail. Respiration? In other words, the actual cause of death is suffocation. And all the while, the
victim is conscious and aware, just unable to move.
That's hideous.
To the observer, it looked like the victim was just sleeping peacefully into an endless sleep. But for the victim himself, his final moments would be a living hell. That is the true nature of this deadly curare poison. Bingo! Silence in the courtroom. And you're suggesting that this bottle, counsel, actually contains this terrifying poison?
This is all very convenient, isn't it? A hitherto unknown poison, for which there is no means of testing. What a happy tale for the defense.
If I may.
All these facts, you think you're so clever.
It is you who must be taught.
Of course. Dear lady.
So, this is how you Japanese behave, is it? What? You steal another's honest hard work and announce the results as if you discovered them. I'm appalled. What a loathsome act.
Well, Miss Brett, the feeling is mutual.
Whatever do you mean?
Capitalizing on the unfortunate circumstances of an innocent man to frame him for a heinous crime, that really is a loathsome act. Wouldn't you agree?
Enough of this. I, for one, refuse to accept it. The idea of some poison that doesn't even exist in the great empire of Japan is breaking the rules.
What's so funny? Oh, excuse me, Your Excellency.
Yes, Miss Brett.
May I borrow that bottle for a moment, please?
Well, yes, I don't see, why not? She's about to chug this bottle. Okay, maybe not as ladylike. But still.
Don't get too big for your boots, you insignificant little island boys.
Sorry.
To an Englishwoman such as myself, this whole affair is a farcical comedy. You little police games, these foolish courtroom antics, it's laughable, really. But I'm getting bored of it all now. It's time for the games to end.
She's either about to kill herself, or the drink's gone flat and the poison won't have any effect.
Cheers!
Chug, 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 chug.
Wait, what are you doing?
No sparkle left at all. How appropriate for this shabby affair. Well, that's awkward. It would be really funny if she just, fell to the floor in, a couple minutes.
Goodness. Whatever's the matter? You all look quite stunned.
I mean, that's fair. So, no curare. The bottle was clean. Is that what you're saying?
You look quite incredulous, little boy. But of course, that's the simple truth. Thank you for presenting the findings of my research so concisely here within this grand venue. Most kind. Thank you, waiter. Now then, Your Excellency.
Yes, Miss Brett.
I should like to be excused now, please. I think I've given more than enough of my time for the furtherance of friendship between our countries.
Yes, dear lady, we are most gratified with all the assistance you have given. Uh-oh. This doesn't make sense. There had to have been poison in that bottle. So how did she swallow a whole glass and live to tell the tale? I don't understand it.
Well, I suppose, if nothing else, this little Far Eastern charade will make for an interesting conversation at the next party I attend in London. There has to have been poison in that bottle, doesn't there? But there can't have been, because otherwise she would have keeled over dead. Come on, Ryunosuke. We have all the clues now. That bottle of water.
Let's take a look. We don't investigate inside. It's hard to tell. Poison, regain incapacity to prey. Even a minute does a revenge effect. Oh, when the enters a wound, not ingested as a drink. It contains. Wait, no. My defense refuses to change position. Serious? I mean, if it comes in through a wound, we just saw Nesbret drinking the water from it. That's right, which rather complicates your argument. Which rather complicates your argument, I think. And I believe that complication can be explained.
How exactly?
I need to think through all the things that don't quite add up here, one by one. I'm sure the answer is in the evidence we have in the court record somewhere. It has to be. Very well. If the defense truly intends to assert this claim, then I must ask you to support the assertion with evidence. Oh, because he had the tooth removed, there was an open space in his mouth, which is how he swallowed it, and it killed him. Okay. What explains how the witness was able to consume the supposedly poisoned water unscathed? Research.
Yes!
The answer to this riddle is right here in Miss Brett's own research report.
That is not a valid explanation.
No?
After all, we don't speak English. The report is not a gibberish. The impudent young scoundrel is trying to ridicule the court, Your Excellency.
I'm not trying to ridicule anyone. Honest. I'm just reading Susato-san's notes.
I concur. The report is too extensive to be considered in its entirety by the court. You will direct us to the pertinent section, Counsel. Which section of the report reveals the alleged answer to this riddle? It'd be special characteristics. Oh, I can just look. Synopsis, special characteristics. Yep. Just checking.
We've been hearing a lot about this curare poison. And it's left me curious about something.
No, Counsel.
Well, it sounds as though indigenous hunters have been using this poison for years and years to lace the heads of arrows that they shoot at the whatever the prey they're hunting.
So we've been led to believe, yes.
And the point of hunting is to catch prey to eat.
Get to the point, please.
But if they were to use these laced arrows, doesn't that mean there would be traces of poison left in the prey the hunters are going to eat?
Yes, good point. So surely the hunters wouldn't want to eat their prey, would they?
Because then they'd be eating poison.
Good gracious, Counsel. No, that would be madness.
But I actually found the answer to that conundrum in this research paper here. Under special characteristics, it says this. The poison starts to work after entering the body through a wound.
Through a wound, you say? I see, that makes sense.
Yes, the mention of that particular detail seemed a little strange to me, though. But it all makes sense when you interpret what's written like this. When curare enters the body through an open wound, it has terrifying poisonous effects. However, good slam, when it enters the body via the mouth, it has no poisonous effects whatsoever.
What?
Miss Brett, You authored this research. You knew Curara's special characteristics, and you knew that you could make a spectacle of drinking that water without any danger to yourself. You meddling little... That's a living bird. Rapscallion! Well, Renosuke, it turns out you're an even better lawyer than I thought you'd be. Really? Me? A lawyer?
All this poison talk is fascinating, I'm sure, but I fail to see how it's possible.
So, the ill-bred little puppy had a new toy to play with. Some facts he read in a book. But I'm afraid knowledge doesn't suit you, little boy. It only makes you look silly. What are you trying to say? Your schoolboyish logic has a fatal flaw. He's gonna say that Dr. Wilson did the same thing I just did. He drank the poison just fine. But actually, he just had smell surgery, which is why... Yeah, I already explained this. Schoolboyish flaw? As even your brain has managed to deduce, curare is safe to ingest. It seems likely that its effects are neutralized by the acidic nature of the gastric succus. Oh, yes, well, of course. Gastric suckers.
What are they?
So, if this lethal poison is completely harmless when drunk, the professor wouldn't have died when he swallowed it, would he?
That's right.
Good gracious.
That's basic science. Science that even a schoolboy should be able to understand. Nope. We're getting there. I mean, at least they haven't brought up how he had been in surgery, so he had an open wound in his mouth. Yet, at least. Order in the court, order! The logic holds. If the lady and the professor drank the same poison, they would be affected in the same way. Are you trying to suggest?
Yes, this curare poison is completely irrelevant to the case on trial.
That's right. Surely even a little cockroach like you could understand something as simple as that. What is this welling up inside me? I've never felt like this before. It's sort of conviction to break down all of the discrepancies. It's so intense, almost rage-like. And more than anything else, it's an animalistic desire to take down my prey. Objection! He said the thing! I don't think so, Miss Jezebel Brett. How dare you use that tone with me? You know very well that there is no fatal flaw here. You know exactly why, even though both you and the victim swallowed the same poison. You are alive, but Dr. Wilson is dead. Counsel, I'm sure I don't need to remind you must provide compelling evidence, as we now know that this poison is completely harmless when ingested. Why would Dr. Wilson alone have been killed by the curare? Because he had dental work done. As Miss Brett so readily pointed out, she drank the same water as the professor. However, there was a fundamental and fatal difference between the two diners.
A fatal difference?
The toxic effects of curare are only felt when the poison enters through the body through an open wound. So, for a healthy person with no injuries, drinking it is completely harmless. But what if there was a wound inside the mouth of the person drinking the poisoned water?
Inside?
Yes, like the wound you might have if you had just been to the dentist and had a tooth extracted, for example. Good slam. Miss Brett, you've acknowledged many times in your testimony already that you were well aware of Dr. Wilson's dental appointment that day. So that's it. You used that knowledge to orchestrate this. Is she laughing? I don't like to repeat myself, but honestly, I can't resist. These childish courtroom games and your half-baked arguments are so puerile. What do you mean? Don't worry, little schoolboy. You'll find out soon enough. You see, when you leave vital evidence lying around, you never know what might happen to it. No! I mean, it could just slip.
Well, that's not good.
Oh dear, how careless of me. I'm afraid some crucial evidence may have just been tragically destroyed. No! What is it? What just happened?
What a terrible blunder.
Oopsie.
Officer, what are you waiting for? Collect up as much of the water from that broken bottle as possible, as once.
You're wasting your time. This delightful carpet under my feet here was a gift from the British Empire. I assure you it will soak up the water beautifully. You have neither the technology nor the presence of mind to recover it. How could you? You won't get away with this. You can thump the bench and shout as much as you like, little boy. But I'm afraid we'll never know now, will we? If there really was poison in the bottle, or not.
You...
And let us not forget, we still have some very compelling evidence left intact. Isn't that right, counsel for the prosecution?
Oh, of course, of course. You're referring to this photographic print, I presume, dear lady.
That's right, and really looking at this photograph, it's as clear as day, isn't it? The poor professor was sitting with his back to me, so of course the only person who could have shot him from the front is the little schoolboy.
No! You killed the victim that day, using karare, and then in order to frame Ryunosuke Naruhodo for the crime. You waited until he picked up the pistol you'd arranged for him to find on the floor, before you shot the professor's dead body in the chest with your own hidden gun. Then, in the confusion that followed, all you had to do was turn the dead professor and his chair around. You see, you had every opportunity to commit this crime.
What a wonderful imagination you have, young man. A hidden gun, you say? And I shot the professor's dead body, did I? Well, I'm terribly sorry, but you don't have a shred of evidence.
Exactly. And as you have nothing to support your wild claims, the prosecution's stance remains unchanged. The victim, Dr. John H. Wilson, was killed by a gunshot to the chest. Delivered in cold blood by the accused, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
This is unbelievable. How can this be happening? We had her. But now, is she really going to get away with it? The way she has destroyed that evidence was obscene.
Ryunosuke!
Yes, we've come this far, but now you're the only one who can finish it. What? What do you mean? We've lost a vital piece of evidence, it's true. So if there were any clues left for us to use now, they must be in your head. In my head? You told me before that your powers of observation were the one thing you could really depend on. Well, yes, that's true, but I didn't manage to notice that this woman was a foreigner with a swan in her head. So think back again now. Try to remember every last detail about the scene that day. Everything you saw, everything you felt, every color, every smell. What I saw, what I felt, every color. Is Kazuma right? Somewhere in the vibrant memory of the same scene in my head. Could there be another clue to expose the identity of Dr. Wilson's killer? I wonder what it could be. Actually, Kazuma, I think I might have something. Thinking back over everything I saw, I think I might have uncovered another clue. You always have something up your sleeve, don't you, Ryunosuke? Come on then, let's wipe that smug smile off the Englishwoman's face with some evidence. Alright, I can't wait. It's been niggling. Nigling? I don't know if I want to say that word. It sounds inappropriate. It's been niggling. I don't know. Nidgling. I would say nigeling. It's been nigeling me for a while that something feels amiss in my memories of that day. Whatever it is could be the key to arriving at the truth about all this. It's here somewhere, the clue that shows who Dr. Wilson's real killer must have been. Could it be the steak juice they got outside of the plate? Inspector Hosonaga, answer me this. Yes. What is it? He's still miles away, probably thinking about that bottle being smashed. As you've said a number of times now, you strive for perfection in your investigations, don't you? Absolutely. I wonder, therefore, if perhaps you took anything else from the scene of the crime. Like, for instance, the plate of the steak that you took to the victim's table that day?
Wait a minute. Where are you going with it?
Where are you going with this, little boy? It's just a memory that's been troubling me. What memory? I saw the scene shown in this photographic print with my own eyes that day. I guess there's a slightly darker stain on the edge of the plate. And I saw that on the wooden base of the plate that the steak was served on was a spattering of blood.
What?
Oh, really? And what of it? Obviously, that must have happened when you shot the professor. No, that can't be the case. Take a good look at the photograph and the relative position of everything there. The plate of steak is almost directly behind the victim. If I'm supposed to have shot Dr. Wilson in the chest from the front, there's no way the blood from the victim could have ended up directly behind him. Yes. For blood to have made it onto the plate, it implies the plate was between the victim and the shooter, which means the shooter must have been sitting opposite the professor as you were. Josiah Brett, I beg your pardon?
This is beyond ridiculous. Fabricated nonsense. Is the court seriously expected to believe something the accused has apparently just remembered seeing?
Was that Hosonaga? This could be the moment that my entire career in the police force has been leading to. Inspector, you mean? Yes, I took the plate in the interest of preserving evidence from the scene of the crime. I took it, meat and all. I don't care if they call me a crime scene thief because of it. You did what? I took the steak that you had been eating, Miss Brett. I took the steak that the surgeon had been eating. I did it all in the name of justice. Is this Bobby Fulbright's ancestor? Forefather, I guess? Then we can find out for sure whether or not there's a bloodstain on Miss Brett's plate. We must examine it now! You can't drop this and shatter it on the floor, can you, Miss Brett? Inspector, the court wishes to examine the plate from the victim's table immediately. Yes, sir! Well, this should be good. Sorry for the delay. Here is what you ordered. The steak. Well, what about the blood? Is there blood on it?
Of course there isn't.
Quickly, Inspector. The blood, man. Show the court. Drum roll. Of course. Examine the plate at your leisure. Uh-oh. No. No blood. No blood anywhere. But no. That's impossible! Maybe he just took the wrong plate. I know I saw it. I'm sure of it. It was right there on the table behind the professor. There's blood on the side of the plate. What an unbecoming expression, little boy. You see, this is why I always say you can't trust what the Japanese tell you.
I couldn't agree more. In the case of this disgrace to the Empire.
I believe we may finally reach a conclusion in this trial.
Let's hope so. Let's pretend attempt at courtroom proceedings is painful to watch, but I do promise to do my best to forget all about it when it's over.
This sorry-looking steak reveals that facts all too clearly. If the sorry-looking accused wishes to examine it again, be my guests.
Alright, let's take a look. What was the plate I saw, or thought I saw, just a figment of my imagination? This is it now, I've lost.
Ryunosuke, it's not over yet, not until the final gavel. Never stop believing in yourself. Keep looking forward, no matter what.
Believe in myself? Really? Maybe I should at least examine the evidence for myself.
As the evidence requested by the defense has not been shown to be problematic in any way, I presume any further examination of this evidence in the trial will be unnecessary. Does the defense have any objection?
That bloodstain was going to clinch the trial for me. Can this plate of steak reveal any other clues at all?
Is this the right plate of steak? Let's see, it kind of looks like a bite, and it goes down. This might be the same plate.
There's another clue. Your Excellency, please wait. The plate of beef is hiding another clue. Another clue that will reveal the shocking truth.
The only thing that's shocking me here is your unhealthy fascination with beefsteaks.
Your Excellency, I think I've made myself clear, haven't I? I would not be able to turn a blind eye to any more unnecessary procrastination in this trial.
I'm sorry, Miss Brett, but we must ensure a thorough examination of the evidence. I will not give a ruling until I am completely satisfied that all reasonable doubt has been dispelled.
I see. As a newly affirmed ally of my country, that's still your position, is it? Thank you, Your Excellency.
Counsel for the defense, you will now clearly show the court what you are alluding. What precisely on this plate of beefsteak is the new clue to be found? No, I don't think there's any blood on the back there. There's nothing on the back. My best guess is that the steak is like eaten at different places. No, counsel, I'm afraid that won't do. That was ambiguous at best. When you're asked to identify a detail like this, you must do so knowing there are penalties for mistakes.
The answer's right here in front of me, I'm sure of it. There's only one thing to do. Turn the steak over and over until I find somebody to help me out of this mess.
Alright. Okay, so like you can't identify anything on the back. Nothing new to identify. I mean, I guess maybe it was on the wrong. No. Uh-oh. Court record. Let's take a look. The inside was towards the head. Okay. The inside is still towards the head. I could either be this corner or this corner. Like you can only choose either the head or the steak itself. Something on the side. There should be anything on the side.
pull up your evidence. Beefsteak. There's no evidence clearly found. I mean, it was seated like this on the table. The wood would have been right here.
Got it!
Okay, it's time for us to hit a save, so that way we don't get sent back many minutes. You know what? I'm definitely missing something here. Let's examine this. Aha! There it is. What in the world is this? I think it's a Koban coin, and the hallmark is from the Hoei area, I believe. No, I don't mean what is it. I mean, what's it doing there? Well, wait, did you say it was a Hoei Koban? Yes, and apart from the meat juices, it looks to be in good condition. I imagine it's very valuable. This isn't the first time today that there's been a talk of a Hoei Koban. I've heard of pearls before swine, but I've never heard of bullion in a bullion. And I don't think you ever will again. It's extraordinary, though. This means... Well, I think we found the thing. Peel that beef. Okay, we just went over this. Hoei area. Yes, we just went over this. Did you say it was a Hoei Koban? Yeah, the old guy lost his Koban, which means either Dr. Wilson or Miss Brett stole the coin with the attempt to steal or profit off of it. Bullion and a bullion. Extraordinary though, this means... Say hello.
Got it!
Good gracious, that's... A Koban?
What on earth? A Hoei area one. At that. Miss Brett, this is in fact the beefsteak that you ordered at the restaurant on the day in question, is it? Tell me, why is there an old coin seemingly hidden underneath the meal? What a ridiculous question. How should I know? I've never seen that thing before in my life. I don't know what it is, but I want no part of it.
I fail to see how this is relevant. A coin under the meat. That could simply have been a careless mistake by a chef in the moment of distraction.
That's probably a health code violation. Don't be absurd. We're supposed to believe this happened by accident in the kitchen? A rare Hoei Koban just happened to be hidden underneath that piece of steak? If this turns out to be irrelevant to the case, I'll rip my ticket to Great Britain right now. He's right. It can't be a coincidence. Good slam. Your Excellency.
Yes, Counsel?
A rare Hoei Koban just happens to be hidden underneath that piece of steak. If this turns out to be irrelevant to the case, I'll give up my lawyer job right now.
By all means, don't let us stop you. No one invited you anyway.
Perhaps, little boy, you should realize that it is you who is irrelevant. Even though I'm the one on trial here. The point is, it's essential that we ask the owner of this coin if he can explain what it is doing under the steak.
The owner?
Yes, it's obvious. There's only one person it can belong to. The old guy that lost the coin. The owner of the guy that lost the steak. He's only 67.
Take that!
He seems like he should be a lot older than 67. The antiques dealer and owner of Rasutai, Kuryo Kurikuta-san. Kuri, as in Mr. Cucumber or something? Honestly, these ridiculous Japanese names are quite unfathomable.
Ah, yes. old man who testified earlier alongside the military sergeant, correct?
Yes, Your Excellency.
I remember him saying that he was up to something with his Koban coin when it happened, at exactly the moment the gun was fired.
The gunshot interested me not. I was far too busy on the floor.
Too busy on the floor? Sorry, what were you... Okay, I don't need to read this. We've already read this.
I prize coin. Then this Hoei era Koban. Do you mean to tell me?
No. Please, why would Koikuta-san's Koban be sandwiched between the victim beefsteak and his plate? It makes no sense.
Good slam. Which is why I'm asking to bring Koikuta-san back to the witness stand, so we can ask him.
There's still more. Officer, bring both witnesses that testified earlier back in here, without a moment's delay.
Ay. I can't believe we've come back round to that pair again. Me neither. But I have a hunch, a strong hunch, that if we chase down the real significance of this Koban, we'll find that it's a key element in this case.
Okay, if this is a to be continued, then I think I'm gonna wrap it up here. Nope. Everyone is here. Hi-ho. What's all this noise about? Why have I been called up again? Don't you realize that it's dinner time for little baby Idol? When my son's belly's empty, he's fiercer than a pack of wolves. Exploited by the police we were, like miserable dogs forced to bear false witness.
And when cast from the courtroom myself, I became a man ruined in a trice. A worthless, withered antique. Nothing more have I to say. The sun has set in this rusty time shop owner's existence.
Be that as it may, Koikuta-san, something has come to light that requires your clarification. As far as your Rasutai memory serves, have you ever...
Wah!
Oh god, it stabbed his foot.
Yes, that's the one, the very one, exact one, that is. The resplendent, splendiferous Hoei treasure that made my rusty bones bring us to this place that fateful day. It can't be.
As I thought.
Young man, enlighten this criminal soul. Put me out of my misery. Where was my treasure? Where was it dropped?
You're not gonna believe this. I'm not sure if it was dropped anywhere. We found your coin sandwiched between a beefsteak and its plate, soaking in the season's meat juices.
Sandwich? Soaking? Seriously?
Clearly, it couldn't have fallen there by accident, which means somebody must have hidden it there on purpose.
Somebody concealed my holy treasure between a slab of meat and a metal plate. Who would do such a thing? Such an unconsiderable thing?
Silence. Excuse me. Could I say something? Yes, of course.
Proceed, Inspector Hosonaga.
I mentioned this earlier, on the trial, but I was working undercover in the restaurant in order to investigate another case.
Yes, that's right. The secret undercover operation.
La Carnival is a high-class Western cuisine restaurant. It attracts wealthy diners, including many foreigners. Recently, there's been a run-in of similarly executed thefts targeting the restaurant's rich clientele. A number of such incidents have been reported to the police bureau.
Wicked crimes indeed.
We wanted to nip the case in the bud quickly, especially with so many foreigners being afflicted. So that's why you were sent in undercover, is it? Yes, I took on the job of waiter at the restaurant in order to flush out the criminal. It seemed likely that this Koban incident is the work of the same thief.
So unbeknownst to us, there was a master thief at work in the restaurant on a regular basis. The place was already the scene of several crimes, it seems.
I don't know about the master thief part, but the identity of the person who stole and hid Kakuta-san's koban is all too clear.
What?
What?
I think the court would like to hear the defense's view on this matter. Tell us who the despicable scoundrel that stole Kakuta-san's koban and hid it under the stake.
I mean, it's either Wilson or Brett. Eeny, miny, miny, mo. Catch a tiger by its toe. Let's think it through. I mean, the woman, Brett, maybe her research is being squandered by Wilson, which would have given her like motive to kill. I'm not sure what Wilson. Well, I mean, she's the one that had the poison, so I mean, it has to be
Take
her.
that!
Because, I mean, why would Wilson poison himself if he was the one? Uh-huh. You shocked me, Kazuma. Not as much as you shocked me. No one could have approached the table unnoticed, even if you were a crazy fool. You couldn't have missed that. I'm not sure you should be putting Kojo-san a crazy fool, Kazuma. It was you who I was calling the crazy fool. Maybe I'm on the wrong track here. I believe I can have heard you correctly, Counsel. Let me hear your opinion on this matter again. Okay, let's save. Okay, well, it wasn't her. It would have to be.
Take that!
Nope. I feel like I'm missing something here. Unless it was options. Load. Unless it was the inspector? The detective, that's the word. Is it the detective?
Take that!
No, really? Okay then, I guess it must be the army person. It's the only one that makes sense. Let us try this army person on our first attempt. Because it is the only person that makes sense.
Take that!
Obviously, it can only be you. Sergeant Iyasenosa.
What? How? How dare you? You monster!
Monster? I stole that koban, did I?
I'm the master thief of La Carnival, am I? You're seriously accusing me of these crimes, cadet? But it wasn't me, it was Ido. Ido is the mastermind behind all of this.
Blaming the less than a year old. I don't think anyone's buying that. You would push the blame for your crimes onto your own son, an innocent little baby. This is where the baby reveals that he's actually been like the Remy behind this whole thing.
You.
Clippity clop, clippity clop. Did that baby just snap his back? That baby might be more aware than we thought. So was it actually him? Maybe he and the girl were working together. He's about to rip that baby off from behind him.
Do any of you know of the extraordinary low wages that the Nippon Imperial Army pays those it expects to keep our country safe? I understand that the temporary increase in taxation owing to the recently ended conflict remain in place, and I have heard it is hard for lower ranked soldiers to make a living, yes. All I want is to put a hot meal on the table for my son.
That's why you were stealing things at the restaurant?
The place is heaving with money, heaving with money. Every 3 days I'd go there and do reconnaissance for a target. And I enjoyed chopping my way through a good steak at the same time.
It sounds like he doesn't bother with a knife and fork even, which is worryingly believable. And your target that day was the old man, his Koban.
Yes, sir. He was an easy mark. I slipped the coin into my pocket without any trouble at all. A veritable phantom thief you are. I was all set to leave the steak as I was halfway through devouring when it happened.
Yes, when the professor was shot.
I knew that if the police conducted a search and found the coin in my pocket, I'd be finished. Item 2. So I hid the incriminating evidence as fast as I could on the double. I slipped it under the steak, hoping that I'd be able to rendezvous it again at a later date.
This is ridiculous. But perhaps you could carry on with this absurd little prattling in your own time. Well, Miss Brett?
Oh, of course, dear lady, of course. How rude of us. I'm quite sure there's no need to detain you any longer at all. May the esteemed gentlewoman please be excused, Your Excellency.
Indeed. The thief of the Koban was clearly perpetrated by this baby-saddled sergeant, who would certainly appear to be unrelated to Dr. Wilson's murder.
Of course it is. Hiding a coin under a lump of meat. The sheer nonsense of such an idea astounds me. Nonsense, is it?
Well.
And as for picking up your steak and biting into it without using a knife and fork, it's beyond nonsense. It's pure madness.
Very well. Now that all questions concerning this witness testimony have been answered, I see no further justification for detaining her. Miss Brett, you are free to leave.
Thank you, Your Excellency. Good luck, everyone. And good day.
Wait. Inosuke, what's the matter with you? This is no time for daydreaming.
Oh, no, it's just something about Miss Brett's parting words there got me thinking. I couldn't quite work out what exactly, but something she said jarred with me. I feel like there was a contradiction in there somewhere. Something didn't quite add up.
Well, that's the case. Don't just stand there thinking. Make your voice heard.
Let's take a look-see.
That's the judge. Okay. So she said, hiding a coin under a lump of meat, the sheer nonsense of such an idea astounds me. Nonsense. And as for picking up your steak and biting into it without using a knife and fork, it's beyond nonsense, it's pure madness. Thank you, excellent. Good luck, everyone, and good day. You can think later, but if you don't call out now, it'll be too late. The trial will be over.
Hold it!
Wait, Miss Brett. What is it now? I'm afraid, just one last time, there's something I'd like to ask you. I'd like to explain the contradiction in your parting words just a few moments ago. What are you talking about? What contradiction?
What new student nonsense is this?
Well, what parting words are you talking about, Inosuke?
Hiding a coin under a lump of meat. The sheer nonsense of such an idea astounds me. And as for picking up your steak and biting into it without using a knife and fork, it's beyond nonsense, it's pure madness. Yes, I'm right. What you said there exposed an undeniable contradiction.
I'm going to need to see evidence, counsel. Where is the evidence to prove it?
Let's just quick save. Not because I'm not confident in my answer, it's just it felt like the right moment to do so. Eating a steak without a fork and knife. Well, this is your plate, though.
Take that!
The steak that Miss Brett had been eating before the professor was killed. Yes, go on. More accurately, Your Excellency, the steak that was on the victim's table just before the professor was killed.
Now you're just splitting hairs.
Not true. Doesn't something about the steak strike you as very unnatural?
Unnatural? What on earth do you mean?
It's extremely obvious that I'm talking about the shape of the edge where it's been eaten. I see you've noticed it too, Miss Brett. Yeah, I guess it's not like it's angled, or it's not angled. It's like rounded. Notice what exactly, Counsel? Just a few moments ago, Miss Brett claimed no Englishman could ever even contemplate picking up a steak and biting into it without using a knife or fork.
Of course she did. She's a refined English gentlewoman herself.
Then take a good look at the steak, in particular the edge where it's been eaten. Those look like bite marks. As you can see, there are clearly defined, barbaric teeth marks in there. Oh. Ah. It looks like Miss Brett has realized something. Good slam. So, if the witness, as she claims, wouldn't contemplate eating anything without using a knife and fork, there shouldn't be teeth marks in the steak at all.
But what is your actual point? Perhaps the delightful Miss Brett was ravenously hungry. Oh, whatever you say, dear lady.
As I said, I really must be leaving now. Afternoon tea with the Minister of Justice cannot possibly wait any longer.
Of course. This will all be over in the blink of an eye. Rest assured, I'm about to put this rookie in his place. Just leave everything to...
I've heard enough. You're irritating the spectacled samurai relic.
Of course. Dear lady.
What's the matter, Miss Brett? Have we ruffled your feathers? Clearly, the witness knows what this means. She's realized the catastrophic implication these teeth marks in the steak have for her. Inosuke, do you know where you're going with this? I don't. We'll figure it out. Yes, now, at last, it's all come together. The mysterious teeth marks in the steak that had allegedly been eaten with cutlery. Oh, because this is the sergeant's plate. The reason why the bloodstain I know I saw somehow seems to have disappeared. I did say that we were looking at the sergeant's plate. And most importantly, the evidence that proves once and for all who shot Dr. Wilson that day. I accept that these teeth marks in the steak are a little unnatural, as you put it, Counsel. But what exactly are you suggesting that tells us? Everything, Your Excellency.
Everything?
Yes, I believe that these barbaric teeth marks in the steak here amount to conclusive evidence in this case. Evidence that will prove beyond any doubt who shot Dr. Wilson. Conclusive evidence? How many times have I heard that today? You wouldn't know the meaning of the phrase. Typical Japanese empty threats. How can you be so sure? Oh, it's quite simple. If you really had such conclusive evidence, you would have presented it to the court long ago. Actually, the evidence I've been talking about hasn't been brought before the court yet.
Hasn't been? What?
But just because it hasn't been shown yet, doesn't mean that the evidence does not exist.
This is absurd. This trial has run several hours already, and you say there's evidence yet to be brought forward. There can't be. I don't believe you have it.
I don't, but there is someone who does have it. Someone in this very courtroom. And if that person is willing to submit the piece of evidence I'm referring to, it will solve every remaining mystery about this case. Very well. I have a feeling that this will be my last request of the defense in this trial. Who possesses the conclusive evidence that reveal the truth about this whole affair? Save. I mean, what's his name? Hosonaga said that he took both plates of Nosa and of Brett. So what if he just... Nosa hid the coin under his steak. He ate it with his hands. So Hosonaga showed the wrong plate. Is my current theory. The answer is obvious. It's Inspector Hosonaga. What? I haven't? Yes. You think I've been withholding conclusive evidence? That's ridiculous. No, I'm not saying that. Everyone's attention has been focused on this steak with the teeth marks.
Yes.
Now, earlier this afternoon, Sergeant Nosa told the court the following. I'd enjoyed chomping my way through a good steak, as well as admitting to stealing Korekuta-san's coin. He told us that he slipped it under the steak.
You watch it, Cadet. I am a superior officer.
Sergeant Nosa, could you please confirm something for me? Was the steak that you put the coin under, in fact, your own steak?
Attention! Affirmative, of course. I am a soldier in the Imperial Nippon Army, but still. I am not brave enough to ask a foreign gentle lady if she'd mind me manhandling her meal to hide something in it. In other words,
The steak that the detective submitted as evidence earlier was in fact Sergeant Nosa's.
Objection!
That's what I said.
But that makes no sense. That plate was taken from the victim's table.
Objection!
Yet the gentlewoman doesn't take bites out of her steak, nor did she have any opportunity to steal the coin. Of course I didn't steal it. To even suggest such a thing would be an affront to the entire British Empire. Yeah, because the British Empire would never steal anything.
well then, how do you explain this paradox?
Exactly. Surely you're not going to suggest that the sergeant switched the two steaks over.
I get the feeling I am about to suggest that.
You did switch the plates.
Well, after it happened, when I saw the civilian had been murdered right in front of my eyes like that, I panicked. As I said, I immediately lifted my steak and hid the coin underneath it. But then the waiter announced that he was an undercover policeman. I thought I'd had it. If he decided to investigate my slab of meat, that'd be it. I'd be getting my marching orders. So when the cadet here was arrested and then taken off to the kitchen, I seized my chance. With military precision and timing, I switched my steak with the one on the foreign lady's table. What? You can't have. I never saw you do such a thing. It was called Operation Lightning Bolt. There was no time for strategic planning. It was do or die, I tell you. So yes, I did what had to be done.
Unbelievable!
However, fear not, Prosecutor-san.
What now?
I swore on the brass buttons of my uniform. That is all I did, sir.
All you did? That's plenty, Sergeant.
Yes!
So, if Sergeant Nosa switched the plates over, it means he took Miss Brett's steak and the plate it was on back to his own table.
Yes, that follows.
Inspector Hosonaga. Yes? Earlier in this trial, you told the court this. You said that you've not only taken Miss Brett's steak after the incident, but also the sergeant's. That to preserve the evidence you had taken both.
Ah!
Now she's eating her mask. That's correct. Then please present it to the court now. The plate that was actually on the victim's table at the precise moment he was shot. What can that possibly tell us now? I mean, a cold slab of tough meat. It can't have the slightest bearing on the case.
No, you're not wriggling your way out of it this time, lady. beg your pardon. Surely you're not that forgetful. Surely you remember the reason why this steak pan promises to prove such a big problem for you, no? You're the ones who decided it was a problem, not me. The reason the defense asked to see that plate was to confirm something the defendant remembers seeing.
Thinks he remembers.
I'm quite sure of what I saw, Miss Brett. On the side of that plate that was on the table directly behind Dr. Wilson, there was a clear splattering of blood from the gunshot wound to the victim's chest. I believe the defendant's memory serves him well. And now we have the evidence to prove it. The plate you were eating from, Miss Brett. Let us not prolong this any further. Inspector, you will show the evidence to the court. Present the beefsteak and plate that was originally on the victim's table at the time of the incident. Yes, sir. I can see it from here. Sorry for keeping you. Well, 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 would you look at that? Here is the other steak, and its plate. Please feel free to examine it. The blood stain. It's clearly visible. Look! Now this makes everything clear. The blood you can see on the side of the plate shows that at the moment the victim was shot, he was facing the table with his back to me. In other words, it's impossible for Naruhodo-san to have shot the victim.
It can't be.
In fact, there's only one person who could possibly have shot Dr. Wilson from the front. I'm sure everyone knows by now who that person is. That's right, Miss Jezzael Brett. It's you! She's alone now. I think we're gonna see a breakdown. Whoa. That can't be good. Outdone by a Japanese. Me. A Japanese schoolboy. No, no, no! Still being kind of racist there, Miss Brett. Why does she have a real bird tied to her head? She should... I don't... British fashion confuses me. She has a lot of birds. And there she goes. Not the birds. Sheesh, there were a lot of birds. She's back. Please excuse my little outburst. I briefly lost my composure. Most unbecoming behavior for an English gentleman. Forgive me. Well, Miss Brett, I think it's time you told the court what actually happened that day. The truth this time. Gladly, Your Excellency. It was I who took the professor's life, using curare. As you surmised, I chose that particular day for one very important reason. The professor had a dental appointment for the extraction of one of his teeth in the morning. So you planned to kill the professor, knowing that no trace of poison would be found in his water, because curare is unheard of here in Japan. Yes, of course, I never intended to remain at the restaurant for as long as I did. I only needed to see the professor take one tiny sip of his water, and it would all be over. I would place the steak I had ordered in front of him, and make it appear as though he had been dining alone, and leave immediately. However, before any of that happened, there was an unexpected visitor at the professor's table. That would be me, I suppose. Yes, you. Who else? Such a trifling matter, but the fact you decided to come over to greet the professor meant that I had lost my chance to slip away unnoticed. In due course, the professor took a sip of his water and was paralyzed.
I made sure he was sitting in his chair such that he wouldn't fall. There was no going back at that point, so I concocted a plan on the spur of the moment. A plan to pin Dr. Wilson's murder on this innocent man. I happened to know that the professor always carried a gun. I decided to use that fact to my advantage. I had the bottle of Karari in my handbag, and my own pistol concealed under my skirt.
Under your skirt.
So I was right. There were 2 guns. Yes. And then I finished my coffee and got up to leave. That's when I noticed the professor's gun, which you had presumably placed on the floor, a place where you were sure that I would notice it. And everything went according to plan. You noticed the gun as I had intended. And then, just as you bent down to pick it up, that's when you shot the professor with your own gun, even though at that point he was already dead. Naturally, the gunshot caused a commotion, at which point the waiter appeared. Obviously, I assumed Naruhodo-san was the culprit and apprehended him. I took him to the pantry that adjoins the kitchen and locked him inside. That's when I took the opportunity to turn the professor and his chair around. Because, of course, you needed to make it look like the defendant had shot Dr. Wilson from where he picked up the gun. Phew. We did it. Well, it took 2 hours, 2.5 hours. So there you have it. That is the entirety of my misdemeanor. Felt like a long first case, but maybe not. I'm not really sure. It's been a while since I played any of the games. Your Excellency.
Yes.
I wonder. Might I speak with you in private later?
I shall call on you.
Thank you. Good day then, everyone. I hope you can forgive me, Naruhodo-san.
Where does she think she's going? She's going to jail. Sounded like she just walked out. It would seem that this trial has finally run its course. Finally. I presume the prosecution is in agreement.
This can't be. Taketsuchi Ouchi does not lose.
Ouchie. Ouchie. I get it now. Taketsuchi Ouchie. What's the... We have like Winston Payne. Gasped in pain. What's the... Taketsuchi. Taketsuchi Ouchie. Taketsuchi Ouchie. I'm not sure. But we did. We got Ouchie. I got there eventually. You better start getting used to tough opposition.
Arr! Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Yes?
This insult to the Ouchi family name will never be forgotten.
You've become conceited with age, Counselor, but the old have to stand aside and make way for the new. It's the way of the world. May you never forget that. Kills him. It would have been a lot funnier if he just... 1,000 millennia might pass, and the Ouchi clan will never measure up to the Naruhodo clan. This trial in the Supreme Court of Japan will, I believe, go down in history as the start of a new chapter in our country's judicial system. Despite being summoned as the accused, you, Ryunosuke Naruhodo, presented an excellent case. I thank you, Your Excellency. The use of evidence and deduction to unravel the truth is a modern mythology. After all, it has only been a few short decades since our country opened its doors to the wider world. But the Western idea of science are rapidly gaining acceptance here. I feel sure that science will soon bring new methods of investigation and new procedures of justice. A new future of law awaits, but what will it look like I cannot begin to imagine. That is for the young to pursue.
Kazuma Asogi.
Yes. After this trial, you are set to embark on a journey of discovery to the illustrious British Empire. Learn all you can, absorb everything of the wider world that you are able to. And do not forget to fulfill the mission imposed upon you. I understand, Your Excellency. What was that about? Why do you look so grave all of a sudden? Never mind.
As for you, Ryunosuke Naruhodo,
Oh, yes? In you, I sense, how can I put this? Unusual potential. I very much look forward to seeing how you carry that onwards. Thank you, Your Excellency. Well, I'd say that went pretty well.
it is time to deliver the final verdict. I hereby find the defendant, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Woohoo! We did it. Nice sakura blossoms. No idea where they're coming from, though.
This court is now adjourned.
Woohoo! We did it. 22nd November. Phew. I can't believe it. I can't believe what's happened. I made it. I defended myself amid that horrendous trial. Ryunosuke, you finally pulled it off. Congratulations. Well, I couldn't have done it without you. Thank you, Kazuma. No, it was a pleasure to watch you work. So, you owe me an extra large sukiyaki from the place on Umai University Street. Don't forget.
Good afternoon.
All of your hard work is oh. I assumed wrong. Congratulations to both of you for proving Naruhodo-san's innocence. Ah, our trusty judicial assistant. You worked hard for that result too, you know. Oh, no, I didn't do anything. Thank you so much! If we hadn't had that research report of Miss Brett's, I don't know how things would have turned out. Your kind words should really be for my father. I was simply doing as he asked. It was his idea for me to go to the university and investigate. Your father? Yes, of course.
Big man.
Mikotoba. Speaking of Mikotoba.
Ah, there you are. I believe congratulations are in order.
Got it right this time.
Naruhodo, you did an excellent job.
Thank you, Professor.
Oh no, it is I who should be thanking you. After all, your efforts exposed the true criminal that took the life of my good friend.
Good friend? Oh, yes, you mentioned that before. It was you who actually invited Dr. Wilson to Umai University, wasn't it?
Yes, that's right.
Professor Mikotoba studied overseas himself. He went to study forensic medicine in Great Britain. Presumably that's when you met Dr. Wilson?
Exactly. In those days, we worked together in the same hospital.
Oh, you worked together? I've never heard you mention that before.
Well, it was a long time ago now. Besides, it's your turn, Asogi. Great Britain is a magnificent country. It leads the world in science, medicine, engineering, culture, and of course in law. Watch and learn, my boy. See what's happening in the world's largest melting pot.
I will. I will learn all that I can. I swear on this, the spirit of the Asogi clan. You're not taking that sword to Great Britain, are you? Of course I am. A Japanese man katana is his soul. This blade shows me where I need to go. And cuts down anything that's in my way. Yes, I've definitely seen how sharp it is already with my own eyes. That reminds me, what's happened to the woman? To Jezebel Brett, I mean. After all, she's guilty of murder.
Ah, yes, her. It's not easy to tell you this, but
What do you mean? Surely she's going to face trial herself now. She's the true culprit after all.
she will be leaving Japan in the very near future for Shanghai.
What? Shanghai?
Jezebel Brett will not appear in court again in this country. I am certain of that.
What? But why not?
It's a matter of consular jurisdiction.
Oh, this guy. Inspector Hosonaga!
I guess Singapore was a British colony at this time. Was it? I don't know. I'm sure we'll find out. It was a very hard-fought battle in the courtroom today. Very impressive to watch. I must congratulate...
But what's all this about consular jurisdiction?
We cannot try this particular foreigner for her crimes here in Japan.
What? We can't try her. But then who's gonna bring her to justice?
A British consular court will hear her case somewhere far away where our voices can't be heard.
But why a consular court?
Professor, I simply don't understand. I thought consular courts were a thing of the past now that we signed the Friendship Treaty. Yes, in normal circumstances you're right. Then, so long as it's not a serious incident of a highly political nature to our respective governments, they can't invoke a consular court just like that.
Oh, can't they?
Yes, she's a student, but it doesn't justify our government making secret aid agreements about her fate, does it? Something strange is going on.
So Mrs. Brett can't be held accountable for her actions here in Japan.
I'm afraid that for the young student, today's trial was nothing more than a game all along. There was never any danger of comeuppance for her.
I don't believe it.
The British government's foreign affairs ministry has demanded that we hand over custody of Miss Brett. They're obviously taking this case of a foreign student committing murder very seriously. But it's all going to change from now on. We can make it change. This is a time of great turmoil, this new era heralded by the start of the 20th century. One day, I have no doubt that women will receive the judgment. Oh, that woman, not the woman. Or that woman, singular, referring to Brett, not woman, plural, referring to 50% of the human population. Yes, change is coming, and we're the ones driving it. Well, I think that's enough seriousness for now. This evening calls for a celebratory drink.
But, Professor...
You're right, this is no time for gloomy faces. We should be celebrating Ignosutte's not guilty verdict. Let's start having some fun. In that case, might I suggest La Carnival? As the head waiter, I should be delighted to provide you with ample food and drink.
You're a detective, Hosonaga-san, aren't you?
Let's not worry about details for now. To La Carnival. Will you accompany us, Professor? Of course. La Carnival's food is second to none.
I shall go to attend to the paperwork for Naruhodo-san's release.
Oh, yes, thank you. Good kid.
So Jezebel Brett won't be tried here. I suppose that means I'll never know. I'll never find out why she killed Dr. Wilson.
Kazuma? Yes, Ryunosuke? I just wanted to say thanks again, that's all. You really saved my skin today. I didn't do a thing. You were the lawyer there, weren't you? That defense was all your own work.
Your skills made the difference, though. One day I bet you'll be the best lawyer in the world.
I'm not so sure about that. To be honest, something kept occurring to me over and over again during that trial. I couldn't help thinking that maybe you're the one destined to become a great lawyer, not me.
What? Come on, don't be serious.
If I helped you today, it was only right at the very start of the trial. But
You have a natural talent for it, for being a defense lawyer, right? Oh no, not me. All that tense verbal combat? I never want to go through that again. I just did what you told me to, that's all. Because I knew I could trust you. That's the point. Sorry? What do you mean, that's the point? Listen, Rinosuke. Do you know what the most crucial weapon is that any lawyer needs in order to win? Knowledge of the law? No. The ability to believe. To believe? To believe what? A defense lawyer has to fight for his clients. He has to believe in them at all times. Well, like you believed in me when I said I didn't do it. I'm human just like you. I don't have some superhuman ability to know the truth. But you have to make the choice about what to believe and stick to it when you're defending someone. Sometimes in the courtroom, you can really be backed into a corner. Being able to remain faithful to what you chose, to believe, and even then, well, that's not something that anyone can do. It takes a special kind of person. Believing in your clients. Just look at today's trial. I'm a student lawyer with precious little real experience, but you never stop believing in me. Well, you faced seemingly hopeless situations time and again, but you never stopped looking for the truth. And in the end, you found it, through your own efforts, and because you never stopped believing. Thanks, Kazuma. There's something I want to ask you, actually, Rinosuke. Well, it's a favor, really. Something very important to me. It sounds serious. What is... Ah, you're still here, are you? Oh, Inspector Hosonaga. I've arranged some rickshaws for us. Let's go. Thank you. We'll be right there. Let's pick up this conversation again later. We should be celebrating right now. Your first court victory. And your study tour to Great Britain. Don't forget. Ah, yes, that too. So my very first trial came to an end. Kazuma, Professor Mikotoba, Susato-san, who acted as my assistant, Inspector Hosonaga, who didn't really play much of a part, but still. It was because of the help and support of all these people that I managed to get through that trial. But more importantly, Kazuma hadn't yet managed to ask his favor of me. Little did I realize just how much it would change my life. And we did it! Ooh, that was one of my longest streams in a while. Let us... No. Save. The inventor of the unbreakable speckled band. Runaway Room, Clouded Corcoro. The Hound of Bakersville. Oh, it rotates. Alright. Well, this seems like a perfect stopping place for today. What is today? Sunday, right? Yeah, I guess I'll be back tomorrow for YouTube Monday. And then I'll stream again later next week at some point. Thursday, probably Thursday, of this game. What else? I actually released a video today, so if you'd like to go check that out, I would be very much appreciative. Leave a like. Might as well do that on this stream as well if you're gonna be there. But yeah, I guess I'll be back tomorrow.